Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Cory. I'm your host, Cory Smith, here with Mr. Ernie Myers, NC State National Champion from the 1983 team. And look, man, we'll start with women's basketball, but I also want to ask you about the Alumni weekend too, and what you got to partake in there before you had to fly out of Raleigh. But before we jump into things, man, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Everything's fine. My daughter's got accepted into NC State. So I'm very happy.
Well, all right, let's start there then, actually, because I saw, Annabelle post everything on Instagram and, how excited you guys are. And I think you posted something too. I mean, I've seen her over the years. She's been at NC State games, whether it was football, basketball.
Yeah.
And I know she's been just as big of an NC State fan as you have of all of this. I mean, what was it like to find out, first of all, to see her get accepted, but also to know that she's going to go to NC State?
It's awesome. God is so good. I mean, this is the only school she applied to, and she got accepted. So she really worked hard, and to continue, the legacy. I got a degree from NC State, and to see how hard she worked. To see how hard she worked and the effort she put into it. This wasn't some legacy thing. I went to NC State and Annabelle works there. No, it was strictly, on her own effort and, determination and work that she put in. So I'm just so proud of her. And it means a whole lot to, our family and her that she got the email and everything is moving forward.
I was going to say it's kind of one of those moments where it's crazy season. You guys found out late, was it January? So it's like you're kind of going through everything as far as, the women's basketball season. And obviously, Annabelle kind of prepping for everything that happens in January with the football team. I mean, so that's kind of a nice moment to step back and be like, oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's also a lot of work. So you got to put in, she's going to school, she's still in her senior year at Wake Christian Academy. So it's a lot of work that goes into it, and, records, and, she's going to stay on campus. It's a whole lot to go through, along with all that other stuff that you mentioned.
All right. So the women's basketball team for NC State, hit a rough patch at the beginning of last week with the Play for K game, the loss to UNC, which is always, kind of compounds itself. It's always, frustrating to lose, but then to lose to UNC, especially at home, something NC State hadn't done in a number of years. But bounce back, a home win against FSU, and then go on the road against a tough Virginia Tech team, a team that was, fighting to get neck and neck with NC State and try to get up the ACC standings. What has this last week been like, and how much is, that recovery from the UNC loss kind of helped to shape where this program is heading now?
Well, that was a tough game against UNC, and, they could have won it at the end. They've lost so many close games this year, and they're learning. They're still a young team. They don't have any seniors on the team, but, the play of Zoe Brooks and Khamil, Pierre, and Sam Jones, and, and all the whole cast of characters on this team really stepped up after that loss to Carolina. Nobody wants to lose to them. I even said it. It was kind of like broadcast therapy. After the game, anybody but them. You know what I mean? So, but you move forward. You tuck that game, and maybe you run into them in the ACC tournament, and it might be a different result or what have you. But for them to bounce back against Florida State, the way they played against them, and then to go up to Blacksburg. That team was a good team. They're going to be, they're a good team. And like you said, they were battling, trying to get in the upper echelons of the ACC, and to win by 20 points up there. And the way the coaching staff approached that game and their scout and everything was just textbook. I mean, West was extremely happy. We kind of got out rebounded in that game, but the result was, a 20-point win. So, great bounce back. Khamil Pierre is a Player of the Year candidate, along with Zoe Brooks, I think. And this ACC is still up for grabs. I mean, there's still a lot of games left, still a lot of tough games left to play for the teams at the top. So you never know what can happen.
Well, and I wanted to talk to you about Khamil Pierre specifically, you mentioned her being, a National Player of the Year candidate, obviously an ACC Player of the Year candidate as well. But I mean, by now it's no surprise. I mean, it was, probably 8-9 months ago now at this point that NC State was able to land her, and it kind of changed the way that the offseason looked as a whole. But for her to not only come in and be an elite scorer for NC State down low, but to be the level of rebounder that she's been, 4 straight games with double-doubles, 8 of the last 9 with double-doubles. She now is tied for the lead in the country with 16 double-doubles on the season, tied with multiple, mid-major, but also Reagan Beers of Oklahoma. I mean, that's kind of the level that she's playing at right now for NC State. How much has she really changed the complexion of this season for NC State with the way that she's been able to play down low?
I mean, she was a double-double at Vanderbilt. So to bring that here and surround her with some shooters like Zam Jones and playmakers like Zoe Brooks and to play along with Tilda as a center in the middle. I mean, she's just been a dominant force, I mean, that the Wolfpack needed. I mean, she is really playing like a National Player of the Year candidate. I mean, she sometimes you look at her and you say, man, she's not, by the look on her face, that she's not really playing, but she is playing extremely hard, and she takes pride in her game, and I'm thoroughly impressed with her backboard game. I mean, she knows the backboard really well on the offensive end. Her tenacity on as far as getting rebounds and going after them, not only on the defensive end but on the offensive end, is what you want. She knows how to get position. She has great footwork. She's just one of those players, man. One of those great players that you need on a team to advance you as far as you have been in this conference. I mean, she's one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember at the beginning of the season, a few people came up to me and they're like, does she ever get excited about the game? Is she into it? Is she just not locked in? I'm like, dude, how could she not be locked in? She's averaging the double-double. She's playing at elite level. That's just her demeanor. But I mean, how much of a, I'll just say this too, and I wanted to ask you about Zoe Brooks as well, but obviously Zam Jones is kind of that spark plug for this team. But to have those two calming forces, one down low and Khamil Pierre, and then obviously having Zoe Brooks as being kind of a calming force there too. They never get sped up. They're always kind of the same player game in and game out. I mean, how big is that for two of your biggest leaders to be those two players that are just those, the same every single time they step on the court?
Yeah, and that's what you need. You need consistency, and Zoe Brooks' play, she's killing it from the free throw line. I mean, she gets to the free throw line, she scores. I mean, she's throwing assists. I mean, they're just trying to win. There's no egos on this team. They're just trying to win and progress and win the ACC and win the ACC tournament and get a home bye in the NCAA tournament. I mean, everybody's locked in. You mentioned Zam Jones as a spark plug, but I think she's coming across more of a leader, in her sophomore season. She's really, her energy is infectious. She wants to win. I mean, you see it on her face, when she's out there, when she makes a great play or the team is moving, the energy and the level of, pride she takes in her game. When she's hitting the 3-point shot, it opens it up for Khamil and Tilda to do work. And then when she drives to the basket, I mean, she creates plays, Zam Jones, and along with Zoe Brooks. So that backcourt, I call it ZZ Top, because the Z's are doing what they need to do to keep the team. This team hasn't been blown out this year. No, I don't think even they haven't lost 2 games in a row. So they just keep going and going, and I think the schedule they play is preparing them for what's ahead in these next 4 or 5 games in the ACC and going into the ACC tournament.
I was going to say, talking about blowouts is a bit of a sore subject after last night for men's basketball.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll stick to the women's game. One thing I wanted to ask you too. I mean, I wanted to get to Zoe individually too. I mean, looking at the last 5 games for her, obviously dating all the way back to that game against UVA where she had 37 points. But over the last 5 games, she's averaged 22.2 points per game. She's sitting at almost 5 assists per game with 4.8, 2.4 steals over that stretch too. Another remarkable stat of that, you mentioned the fact that she's been getting to the free throw line a ton. 52 of 54 over these last 5 games. Only game where she had less than 6 or less than 8 free throw attempts. Obviously, the game against UNC, only 2 attempts. That was the only 2 attempts for NC State in that game, but we'll leave that for another time. Just, what is her physicality kind of helped? Or how much has that physicality helped NC State too? Her willingness to drive and get to the free throw line. Again, 52 of 54, also being really good from that area. And how important is it going to be this upcoming weekend against Notre Dame and even against Duke the following game, where it's 2 teams that rely heavily on their defense with Hannah Hidalgo and obviously the Duke defense, the way that they play too.
It's Zoe Brooks is all that and a bag of chips. I mean, the way she's been playing, and she had a career high 5 steals against Virginia Tech. She's putting it on her back. I mean, she's playing like a leader. She's been here. She's been to the Final Four. She's been to 2 ACC championship games in her career so far. I mean, she hasn't won one, but she's experienced all that. And she takes pride in her game. I mean, she's going up against, one of her friends, one of her AAU teammates, Hannah Hidalgo, at Notre Dame. The next game's coming up. And I'm sure she's looking at that game as a challenge. You know what I mean? Hidalgo likes to steal the ball. Zoe Brooks likes that, she has superior ball handling skills. I say that on the air a lot. She knows how to handle a basketball. She doesn't turn it over a whole lot, along with Zam Jones. I think the team only had 9 turnovers against Virginia Tech in that game. So, I mean, ball control, great guard play gets you far in the tournament. And men's and women's basketball. If you have great guard play, like we had with Sanaya and Isaiah, you can go far. When you have guards that can shoot the basketball and control the tempo and get the ball inside to a player like Khamil Pierre and Tilda Trieger. Tilda Trieger is she's a great ball player. You get her the ball, she's efficient. Her percentage is up there. She shoots 50% from the field. She rarely takes bad shots, and she knocks down 3-point shots. So, people sleep on Tilda, and Tilda can play.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Khamil Pierre just eats up so much of the attention because of, look at the numbers at the end of the game, and obviously she has dominant spurts, but it's like, then you look at the box score by the end, it's like Tilda Trieger knocked down 1 or 2 3-pointers and, 8
rebounds, 10 rebounds, 15, 25 points. She kind of gets overlooked, but she's 6'6". She's the leading shot blocker on our team as well, and they look for her, and she responds. She's a force, and to be playing alongside a player like Khamil Pierre is just a benefit, I think, to both of them, because you got to play both of them. You can't just focus on one. You gotta, if Camille's having a rough game offensively, you'll see Tilda get hers, or like I said, Zam Jones, if she's knocking down 3-point shots, it opens it up for both of them down low.
Yeah, and I love the way they play off of each other too, because it's almost like, Tilda knows, all right, I'm more of the 5 on defense. Khamil, more of the 5 on offense, plays a little bit under the basket, and obviously, Tilda's able to step out. So I love the way that they play off of each other. I wanted to ask you too, looking at this next 3-game stretch, you mentioned the fact that NC State obviously wants to try to stay inside that top 4 in the ACC, if not truly compete for an ACC championship. All those things are still, in play with 4 games or 5 games left here. But this next 3-game stretch, we start with Notre Dame, who's currently 7-6 in ACC play, right around the middle. They're a team that wants to climb. Then you play Duke on the road, currently the number 1 team, undefeated in ACC play so far at 13-0, and then host Syracuse, a team that right now is kind of surprising some people at 9-4 overall in ACC play, 19-5 right now on the season. So, a little ahead of schedule there for Syracuse and turning this thing around. But, how critical is this next 3-game stretch for NC State in trying to not only try to compete for an ACC championship, but stay inside that top 4 and try to, clinch that double bye going into the ACC tournament?
It is huge, and the coaching staff knows it. And, to start off with a road win at Virginia Tech, and, road wins a goal.
Yeah.
I know the men's team, they were rolling until, they had a little hiccup, winning on the road. In the ACC, it's not easy. I mean, I've been doing this with them for a lot of years, and it's not easy to get a road win, no matter who the team is. And whether they're having a rough year or whatever, it's just tough. So to get your team ready to play, and these next, couple of games, like you said, Duke and Notre Dame going there to play,
yeah.
It's tough. So and then to play a team like Duke, who's had a rough start early in the season and kind of got it all together now, and they haven't lost in the ACC, and they beat Louisville on the road. They're right there. So like you said, these next couple of games are going to define where the Wolfpack, that double bye, and if they can win out, they'll be in good shape. But they know where they are, and the coaching staff knows where they are, and they're getting them prepared. Andrew and I are in the room where it happens, and the scouts, and they allow us to be there with the team, and they Coach Moore. He knows what he's doing, man. I mean, he has high expectations for this team, and he does a great job, and his staff does a great job getting these young ladies ready at home and on the road. I know they've had some hiccups at home that they haven't had in the past, but I think those losses they've learned from them, and they're going to move forward.
Yeah, it's a very good point you bring up. I'm just mentioning the next 3 games, but looking back, obviously, that game on the road against Virginia Tech, a team that at that time was one, if they had beaten NC State, would have, jumped NC State in the standings, because they would have been 9-4, or, maybe not jumped them necessarily, but, NC State would have been 9-4. So they're 10-3 right now. They would have been 9-4. So if they had lost that game, Virginia Tech would have jumped them, and it would have, put them down below the 4 seed line going into this next game, this next stretch. All right, I want to take a quick second here to talk about some men's basketball too, though, because you got a chance to be a part early on. I know you ended up having to travel out to Blacksburg over the weekend, and we're able to be there for the full ceremonies and everything. But what was it like to have the alumni weekend? Have Will Wade being willing to bring in a bunch of guys from multiple generations back to NC State and be a part of that experience too?
I mean, that's awesome. In the middle of the season, on a run where they've been doing well, to have former players back. I was able to go to practice, and it was there with a lot of former players, and it's great to see those guys. And to think back, we guys even shot around after practice in the Lenovo Center on the court. It was just great seeing my former teammates and players from the past. I was kind of sad that I wasn't able to attend a majority of the events I saw online. It went great, and guys that I spoke to said it was awesome. For Coach Wade and his staff to bring and look back, and he understands the history of the program and how how this program was built. With the 2 national championships and ACC championships, and and for him to open his team up to, we got to meet the players. They all came by and shook our hands, and we were able to talk to them. They were all respectful young men, and they're doing well. And it was just a great event for a lot of guys, who watch these games on TV, or you want NC State to win. You played here. You want to see them win, and he's brought respectability back to the program, Coach Wade.
And I was going to say too, there's been some talk about the way that the fans of, yes, the game was sold out this past weekend, but just your thoughts on how different it is inside a gym as a player when it's an electric atmosphere like we've seen at Lenovo Center in the past, like we constantly see at Reynolds. But how much of a different feel does it have when you're at home and you have that type of crowd behind you? Yes, it was sold out on Saturday, but there's been some talk about the fact that the fans need to get back more into it as well, and maybe be able to pump up the team too.
Yeah, having the fan base behind you is huge. Playing at home in front of a packed house, showing appreciation. As a player, you feel that energy. You want that energy. You want the fans to be happy. They're the ones that are paying and coming in to see you play and cheer you on. So having the fans come out and for a sellout for a game like Virginia Tech is huge. Fan involvement that, a lot of games last year weren't attended by a lot of fans. So now that they're coming out and, and loving what they're seeing, and Wade has them on, had them on a roll, have them on a roll and high in the standings in 20 years. You haven't been this high in the standings, so it's the fans love. They respond to great coaching and great team play.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you're going to lack a lot of energy over the next 2 of the 3 games. I mean, obviously Miami on Saturday, but then you host UNC, then 2 games on the road before hosting Duke. So there will probably be plenty of energy in the building regardless. It'll be organic as well, but we'll see what the future holds for both NC State women's and men's basketball. First time we can say in a long time that both are competing, to try to get double byes, try to be inside the top, 4 of the ACC going into March. Ernie, I appreciate your time, and
thank you.
Look forward to hearing you on the call again on Sunday, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for allowing me to be on.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Ernie. And thank you to everybody for listening to another edition of Coffee with Cory.